Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maggie, and on behalf of Book Soup, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for our virtual event this evening with Kathy Freston and Jean Stone discussing 72 Reasons to Be Vegan. Why plant-based? Why now? We're so excited and grateful that our bookstore can continue to bring authors and their works to our community during this time. We'll be hosting more virtual events in the near future, and you can learn about them on our website, booksoup.com, as well as our social media at BookSoup. Our next event is tomorrow, June 22nd, with art critic and essayist David Hickey, Daniel Oppenheimer, and Christopher Knight, the LA Times art critic, not from the Brady Bunch, discussing Far From Respectable Dave Hickey and his art. To submit a question during the event, please use the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen. If you see a question that on the list that you'd like for our speakers to answer, please click the like button. We'll try to answer as many questions as time will allow. Please do not use the sidebar chat to ask a question. Support our bookstore and our authors and purchase a copy of tonight's featured book. Just click on the green purchase button that reads 72 Reasons to Be Vegan directly below the viewer screen. The link will redirect you to our website where you can continue your checkout process. We're selling digital audiobooks and ebooks through Libro FM and Kobo for those who are interested. Also, anyone who purchases a copy of 72 Reasons to Be Vegan from Book Soup will be entered to win an exclusive one-on-one Zoom with the authors, where they'll talk to the lucky winner about going vegan, favorite recipes to grocery store shopping tips, to how to talk to friends and family about it, and how to fit it into your life. Essentially, how to make it work for you. A little more about Kathy and Jean. Kathy is an American author. Her books include The Lean, Veganist, Quantum Wellness, and Clean Protein. She was awarded Person of the Year by Veg News in 2011, and Last Chance for Animals honored her with a Vegan of the Year in 2016. Jean was the senior editor at Esquire magazine, the West Coast editor of Simon & Schuster, a consulting editor for the LA Times, and editor-in-chief of California Magazine. He has written over 50 books, many of which have been focused on plant-based eating and wellness. Without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera over to Kathy and Jean. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us here. Really appreciate it. And we love your store.
Thank you
so much. Oh my God. So glad you guys are open and we can shop there in person again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And people should do that. Shop in person. Book Soup is it's a terrific store. And stores like that really help authors like us. The more we create a community of writers and readers, the better off I think we all are. So yeah, go to Book Soup.
And there's nothing like browsing a bookstore. You know, it's just so different than looking online for a book you read a review on. I just love wandering the aisles and finding new things. So yeah, there's nothing like in-person book shopping.
So Kathy and I wrote 72 Reasons to Be Vegan. And usually one of the first things people want to know is, you know, how'd you guys get to be vegan? So we'll start right there. My story is different than most people's. Most people like Kathy have these really heartwarming, wonderful stories about animals and love and their heart. And my story begins with money, which is kind of weird. But I got a call one day from one of my agents saying, hey, do you want to meet this Texas firefighter? He's got an interesting book. And I'm going, no, I don't really want to meet a Texas firefighter. I'm like not that kind of guy. And he goes, no, this guy's really interesting. He's vegan, and you might really want to like talk to him. So I got on the phone. This is this guy, Rip Esselstyn. He was a firefighter in Texas who was not only vegan, but he'd also gotten his whole firehouse to go vegan as well, which, if you know firefighters, is it's kind of unusual. So we started talking, we really got along. And so next thing I knew, he was like the guy I'm writing a book for. Oh, and also it turned out his grandfather had saved my mother's life. So it seemed like the universe really wanted us to get together somehow. Anyway, so to write the book, he goes, you know, you really should think about this. And I thought, vegan, all right, I'll try it. And within a month, I was like totally vegan. I still am. This was, what, 15 years ago. And it's probably, you know how like weird things are. This one phone call that I didn't want to take and I didn't want to do and I wasn't interested completely changed my life, because once I went vegan, originally for health reasons, because Rip's father, Caldwell Esselstyn, was one of the doctors who got President Clinton to go vegan. He's been working at the Cleveland Clinic on the relationship between coronary incidents and a plant-based diet. So I started off a health guy, but then you start seeing these videos of animals and how they're treated. And you don't even think about this when you're like, when you're having a hamburger, you're eating fish, you just don't think about it. But then once you start seeing the videos and you start knowing more, you really do start thinking about it. And I thought about it, and all of a sudden I was an animal protection vegan. And then I started reading more about the environment and the extraordinary relationship between animal agriculture and the environment and how bad it is. So that became the third reason. And of course, there is a fourth reason that people go vegan, which is athletic competition. But since I'm not really, thinking about going to the Olympics, I don't think that's going to be one of my reasons. But anyway, the point is, it took and it stayed, and I'm really grateful for that phone call. Kathy?
Well, I love that. And I am the type of person, if someone said, do you want to meet a Texas firefighter? I would say, hell yes. Why wouldn't I? So that's where you and I diverge. But anyway, I'm glad you did. And I'm glad we met each other. And Jean and I just want to say about Jean and I have been friends for, I don't know how many years now. It's been at least a decade, don't you think?
At least.
Yeah. And we've been talking about writing a book together, finding a project to work together on for so long. And this is just one of those things where it was actually Gene's idea. He was saying, there's never been a book that is just all the reasons to go vegan. And I was like, that's true. That's really true. I mean, I've written stuff about how to go vegan and the spiritual reasons, the protein, the protein element, all of that stuff. But just to put everything into one book in one simple place, it just kind of made sense. So, and we had a good excuse to hang out together. Of course, I convinced Gene to move to California to sell his beautiful house in the Hudson Valley, New York, to move out to California so we could hang out and, be friends. And I said, there's this amazing gay community here. You're going to love it. And we can hang out. And so he, not just because of me, but he sold his house and moved out here. And 2 days later, we went on lockdown.
Yeah, I got here, I think March 31st. April 1st was lockdown. So I had about 24 hours of freedom.
Yeah, I know. I felt so bad. But now we're out and about. We can actually meet up and have lunch or coffee or, do whatever. And it's like, feels so good. So anyway, so I went vegan. I hadn't thought about it. Grew up in a small city in Georgia, Doraville, Georgia, and I ate everything in sight that my mother put in front of me. We went out for chicken wings. We went out for, my friends and I went for sausage pizza. We went for, my smoothies. The way I made my smoothie back then, my protein smoothie, was some juice, a raw egg, and what was it? Some fruit. Yeah. So shockingly, I didn't die from salmonella. I don't know how that happened, but that's where my head was. I just never thought about not eating animal stuff. My parents were good people. My community were, made up of good people, and I just didn't think about it. I liked what I liked. I liked the tradition. I liked the socializing. And so anyway, as the years went on and I became a writer, I was writing more about how to become sort of conscious in your relationships and how to have better relationships and connect to the deeper things in life and to people and to the world around you and how to have meaningful work. And, it just occurred to me that the thing that I did most regularly every day of my life, I really had no consciousness around at all. And that was eating. And I thought, I'm a bit of a hypocrite here, because here I'm saying everybody think deeply about things and bring consciousness into everything, your relationship, your work, whatever. And I didn't really think much about my food. So I sort of had this going on in my mind, and I got a pamphlet in the mail from some animal organization. I don't know which one it was now, but there was a picture of a cow being dragged to slaughter. And it was just like, oof, horrible, horrible. Put it down. And, but it you know, sort of seared something into my brain. Like, it's something I didn't want to know. I was one of those people that said, you know, don't tell me about where my food comes from, because I don't want you to ruin my dinner, you know? So basically that picture kind of ruined my dinner. And, so I was playing with my dog one day, Lotzi, this little Chihuahua, and she was on her back. This is about 17 and a half years ago. She's on her back. I'm rubbing her belly, and her little legs are, you know, kicking out and everything. And I said, oh my God, I love this dog so much. Animals are so amazing. I love them. And this little voice inside of my head said, well, if you love animals so much, why are you eating them? And it was like, ah, damn it. The voice of consciousness, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a thought experiment here. And I pictured my dog, Lotzi, because of course the thing was like, yeah, but she's a dog and we're talking about cows and pigs and chickens. And so I pictured my dog in a slaughter line and moving toward, you know, the kill floor. And I just know my dog. She was so visibly emotional. I could see when she was stressed, when she was anxious, when she was happy, relaxed, fun, whatever. I just knew her as such a unique personality as an individual. And I could picture her in the slaughter line. And don't worry, I won't give you any traumatizing visuals. But I could just see how freaking freaked out she would be. And I felt in my bones I would do anything to help that dog not go through that trauma. And I thought, okay, Kathy, well, this dog is special to you because you know her, you know, you're familiar with her, you've spent time with her. But if you spend time with a pig or you spend time with a chicken, chickens are very, you know, cuddly, and pigs are very smart, and cows are very familial and lovely. And if I spent time with any of those individuals, I would have the same sort of response of, I would do anything not to cause this kind of suffering and stress for this animal. So, and then I thought, well, you know, I'm eating a lot of animals every year. And in fact, you know, we eat about 250, what is it, Jean? 50 animals a year. So I'm like basically partaking in a lot of suffering, causing a lot of suffering. I am really complicit here. And I thought, I'm just a hypocrite if I don't try to do something about this. So I, right then and there, I thought, my intention is to be someone who does not eat any animals at all, nothing from an animal. I don't want any part of this process. But I know myself, and I know that I am completely averse to discipline. As soon as someone tells me what I should not do is the thing that I want to do. If you tell me there's a chocolate peanut butter cup in the refrigerator and you should not eat it for, you know, all these reasons, I'll just obsess about it, and I'll just go and eat it, and then I'll feel guilty about it. So I just know myself well enough that I thought, I'm just going to lean into this, and I'm going to crowd out rather than cut out. So that means I'm not going to say, I'm not going to have meat, I'm not going to have cheese. I'm just going to look for alternatives and find other things that make my stomach and my taste buds really happy, and sort of crowd it out. And if I still want the cow cheese or the you know, chicken meat or something like that, okay, but I'm just going to try to crowd out this stuff.
Let me interrupt for 1 sec, because I just want to say what Kathy just said really is one of the best ways to go vegan. We'd never tell people just stop eating all animals, but what she's talking about right now is really important. It's not a matter of I can't eat this, I can't eat that. but it's crowding out, as Kathy just said. A great way to go vegan is just to start eating so many more fruits, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains that taste really great and you really love them. And you keep doing that, and eventually you realize, oh, I'm not eating any more animal products because they're no longer part of my diet.
You lose the taste for it too, by the way. I mean, yeah, you lose the taste for it. I will tell you a story. Okay, just to finish the thing. So that was 17 and a half years ago. So I've been vegan for a good 16 years because it took me about a year and a half to lean into it, to be completely vegan. But so now I'm completely vegan. But so as far as like that you lose the taste for it, like Jean was talking about, it's just out of your diet and you just don't even crave it anymore. I was actually at a restaurant here in Los Angeles not too long ago, and I ordered the vegan chicken parmesan, and I ordered the vegan mushroom pizza, and I was also having a martini. So I didn't eat everything. I just ate a little bit. I was like, oh, they must have changed their meat, you know, because they used to use, I think they used Gardein. And then I thought they must have, you know, used a different cheese or something. And I was like, oh, it just doesn't taste as good as it used to. Like they're losing their edge on the vegan food, unfortunately. And then, so I took the vast majority of it home because I was busy talking. And the next day I had the leftovers and I took a bite of it and it was like, this is real chicken. That's why it doesn't taste good anymore. And so I think that I was like disgusted. My dog was very happy because she benefited from my rejection of the food, but you just lose the taste for it. You know, everything, it just tastes more gamey after a while. And this is not, again, like Jean said, it's not an overnight process. It's like after a long time of just crowding out other cleaner sources of protein and cleaner foods, when you go back to eating something from an animal by mistake or just because you want to test it out, it has a gaminess and a heaviness and it's just not as good. So that's the easy part, is that like you literally lose your taste and you move to other foods. You have moved to other foods. So yeah.
Megan, do you have any questions for us?
Hi, sorry, my audio was just glitching for a second. Was it difficult to become vegan, especially back when you two did it? It was kind of a, different era of eating. Even 5 years ago was a different era of eating, and 10 years ago was even different than that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing what's happened. Kathy was vegan maybe a couple of years before me. I think I'm like 15. Well, actually, I might be. Come to think of it, we never talked about it. We might have been almost exactly the same time.
It would figure.
Yeah, it would figure. We do a lot of things alike. Yeah. So, except for makeup, I don't use it. So when I did it, yeah, man, it was, people were really weird about it. My friends were going like, I must have had some sort of eating disorder, and food, they're just, you go to a restaurant and you plead with the waiter, maybe there could be a salad or just a pasta have eggs in it. And they're going, we don't have vegan stuff here and all. But yeah, it was kind of difficult maybe 15 years ago. Now it's ridiculous. I mean, particularly, by the way, if you're in Los Angeles where we are, which is like probably easier to be vegan than it is.
It's a problem. It's a problem because I'm like, after years of like scanning the menu and it's like, I'll have the side of broccoli and a baked potato. Now you scan the menu and there's so much great stuff that I'm in danger of like overeating because I just want to try everything and everything tastes so good.
I know it used to be that I'd go to a restaurant and there'd be one thing on it. So, the menu would come and people would be thinking and thinking. And I was like right there. I knew what I wanted because there wasn't anything else. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, I've got the unbearable lightness of being in that, you go to a restaurant and there are 15 choices. And it's like, oh, wow. And I didn't even know this could be vegan. And I didn't even know this were, so it is really different now than it was then. Yeah.
And the vibe of it is totally different. Like people used to be really negative about it. And now I think vegan is so popular, probably because there are a lot of athletes. There are a lot of, there are politicians now that, are.
Well, another thing too is, I hate to say it, but our friends are getting older. And so 15 years ago, when a lot of my friends were going, oh God, dude, vegan. And now they're saying, like, I got a phone call, I guess just a month ago, from a friend of mine who was like totally a mediator, totally against all of this. He had a coronary incident. His doctor said, you got to go plant-based. So now all of a sudden, instead of making fun of me, he is kind of with hat in hand, like asking for advice.
And I hate that it takes that kind of impetus for people to change, And I think a lot of people, and maybe a lot of people here tonight are already vegan or veganish. And so Gina and I wrote the book because there are a lot of people who are now asking, well, why are you going vegan? Why did you go vegan? And so we wanted to write something that just covered all the ground without being so, without it being such a long ordeal, such a commitment. Jean and I are both, we read so much during the day. We're constant. And I think most people just the input of like posts and blogs and newspapers and all of that stuff. It's just hard to take everything in. So we wanted to just do very short reasons that are well, backed up with the research, but no chapter is more than a page and a half. And most chapters are about a page. So we wanted to just, for people who are either already there or they want to be there because of climate change, but they're not talking databases of like, well, how does this affect climate change? We've heard that eating meat affects climate change, but how? Because I remember when I first went vegan, people would ask me questions in a provocative way, like, oh, really? Like, my doctor says I need protein and iron and all this stuff. And I didn't have all the answers. I just knew it was good. And I knew that I wanted to be this way. By the way, when I went vegan, I thought I'm going to definitely shave a decade off my life. I'm going to die early. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to probably have bad skin because everybody knows you need animal protein to be healthy. And then the more I did my research, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to probably save myself a decade of life. And I did lose weight and my skin did get better, visibly better. So all of these things. So that's why the book is very special to us. It's like a tool for advocacy. It's just you may be drawn to veganism for the environment. You may be drawn to it for health reasons. You may be drawn to it for animal rights reasons, but there's so many other interesting tidbits that you can just open to and explore. And it's just not a big commitment. It's a very easy read. And it's got this like cool thing, which I love it. So, but anyway, yeah. So I remember the first time I was at, a dinner and this woman, I was saying something about ordering something from the waiter that was vegan. And she looked at me and she said, what are you wearing on your feet? And I said, boots. What are you talking about? And she said, well, what are they made of? And I said, leather. And she said, then don't talk to me about being vegan. And of course, I'm not preaching because I never preach. It's not my thing at all. But I was very intimidated by it. I was like, oh my God, do I have to be perfect then? Do I have to just I can't wear leather? I can't, use anything on my face that has an animal product, and that's the thing about veganism is that you can take it as far as you want and you can lean into it and you don't have to be perfect.
That's what Kathy's highlighting too. So a lot of people ask, because there's a popular phrase out there, plant-based diet or plant-strong diet or vegan. And often what the difference is for those two things, if you're vegan, you're committed vegan, you're doing what Kathy's talking about right now. You're not buying leather products. You're trying everything you can do to keep animals out of your life. People who might say they have a plant-based diet, they're usually just talking about the diet. They may not also be involved in not buying leather, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, we're happy. Anybody's eating as many
whatever level you
yeah.
you do is a beneficial thing for the planet.
We're definitely both vegans, and again, you also still make compromises. I don't buy any more leather, etc. But I didn't throw out what I had. I felt, it's kind of wasteful, and I already have it, so I'm not going to buy any more. But so, I do have a leather belt probably, and I have some leather shoes still. I now buy canvas, or I buy watches that have metal bands, even though I love watches, and I wrote a book about watches, and I love watches with leather bands. I don't have any more because I don't buy it, but I have old ones.
Do you feel that the reuse movement, aka like people, do you think it's okay for a vegan or a plant-based individual to buy secondhand leather and secondhand?
First of all, with this book, we're just talking about the food. So I just want to make sure no one's scared off, like, oh my God, we have to like now think about our clothes and everything like that. But I think that is a great step. You reusing something environmentally, that's, it's already out there. It's already been produced. It's already been owned by someone else. And yes, if you find a pair of shoes that someone else discarded and it works for you and it's made of leather, then go for it. I personally don't, because I love to support vegan brands, and I love to just know that I don't have anything that's from an animal, on my body. I just feel better personally, but I think that's an excellent step. And that's what we're talking about, it's okay to be veganish. It's okay to be an imperfect vegan. It's okay to be plant-based, and plant-based. If you're plant-based, you probably don't care, at all about wearing leather or fur or whatever. And I think at any level is great that you're considering moving away from consuming animals. So that's awesome.
What you mentioned in the book that eating vegan has a human rights component to it. Can you expound on that a little more?
Yes. So, okay. So in lots of different ways. We have a chapter that was written by a very good friend of mine. She's a chicken farmer. She and her husband are third generation chicken farmers. And they have this, they say this thing that I think is so powerful. Every time you eat chicken, you hurt a farmer. And I think a lot of people are so like, we have to keep eating this stuff because if farmers, we have to support farmers, and they're the salt of the earth, and they're just doing the hard work to feed the world. And that's what these industries would have us believe. But in fact, these businesses, these giant corporations, they have these farmers, family farmers. My friends Jennifer and Rodney Barrett are, they would get this truckload full of chickens, little baby chicks, and they would dump them out in their chicken sheds, and they would grow these chickens for the next few weeks. I think it was like 6 or 7 weeks. And it was backbreaking work. There was so much ammonia that they couldn't barely breathe. They had to go in with respirators and goggles. They got all kinds of viruses. They never had health insurance. They could never get their head above water because they were always in debt. The Pilgrim's Pride or any of those big supply, corporations, they were always upgrading the machinery, and the farmer has to upgrade. And so the farmer keeps going into debt farther and farther and farther, and they can't get ahead. And they have this thing called a lottery where the corporation rewards the farmer who is producing the most chickens or animals, and they get bonuses, the people. So that makes the farmers like work faster and faster and, produce whatever kind of antibiotics and growth hormone. But they take the bonus money from the bottom farmer. So it's like the farmers who are moving a little bit more carefully are the ones who are punished, and the ones who are moving faster are the ones who are getting bonuses. And it is a hellish work. They've never had insurance. By the way, the Barretts have given up chicken farming. They have become vegan, committed vegans. They're so inspiring. I would definitely recommend going to their Instagram page, the Barrett Family Farm. But it's really hard to get out from under that. And plus you've got slaughterhouse workers. Nobody wants to work in a slaughterhouse. Nobody, it is grueling work. They've got a 100% turnover rate. People that only when they're absolutely desperate do they want to work in a slaughterhouse. It is loud and dangerous with, very dangerous tools, obviously, and animals are fighting for their lives to, when they're stunned, the gun doesn't always hit them and they're moving all over, and it is very dangerous work. And obviously slaughterhouse workers did not do well during COVID. So there's a lot of human rights issues in this industry, and it's food that is not peacefully harvested. When you're eating food that is grown in the ground or on trees, that is peacefully harvested for the most part, and it's completely different. So it's a human rights issue as well as an animal rights issue.
Interesting. What do you tell people who are vegetarians but who aren't willing to go vegan? That, what you just said, might be something to tell them.
But it is tough because a lot of vegetarians will say things like, well, it's dairy, so the cow is treated really well, and they're happy cows, and all they're doing is being milked. But the fact is that it's actually probably a better life to be a cow that's slaughtered than a dairy cow, because oh god, dairy cows. And again, we don't want to be gruesome, and we don't want to go too far into this. But if you do want to look into it, you'll find that the life of a dairy cow is just unbearably horrible. The constantly being made pregnant, constantly having babies taken away, and I'm not going to go any further than that. But it's not a good thing from an animal rights perspective. But there's also a lot of research that, for instance, Dr. Michael Greger has done a lot, and Dr. Esselstyn, on some of the carcinogenic compounds in cheeses, for instance, casein and other places that are tumor promoting. So eating dairy isn't necessarily in any way good for you. So it is really a matter of the environment too, because these dairy cows are gruesome for our environment. So from the animal rights perspective, the environmental perspective, and the health perspective, being vegetarian really doesn't make all that much sense. You might as well switch over to like the whole thing and go vegan.
And it's a race issue too, believe it or not, because about 67% of people are lactose intolerant. And so a lot of people think that they have IBS or some bad intestinal problem, and in fact, they're lactose intolerant. And Black and Latinx people especially have lactose intolerance. And so the fact that the government is pushing schools to serve dairy to the children, in these public schools is really, it's not right. And it's a real racial injustice. So there's that component of it. And dairy is it's the fluid of a lactating mother, to feed her baby. By the way, it's such an unnatural thing. People think, oh, dairy is so natural. There's a dude who shoves some sperm from a bull up a female's vagina. I mean, gross. It is definitely not natural. And then the calf is taken away from the mother as soon as it's born so that the milk can go to the humans. And so that milk is designed by nature, is biologically designed to make a calf, a very small calf, put on 1,000 pounds very quickly. So it's got tons of growth hormones in it naturally. Even if the company does not put growth hormones into it, this naturally estrogenic fluid, and that is hell on your skin. If you have any skin problems, it really comes out with dairy, and it's very hard on your weight because it's loaded with saturated fat and cholesterol. And as Jean said, it's cancer promoting because it's got something called casein in it, as well as the growth hormones. And growth hormones, as you know, in your body promote cancer. So we wean our children at the age of 1, maybe 2 at the most. I mean, kids are not drinking mother's milk after being a toddler. So the fact that we humans are eating and drinking the fluid from a lactating cow, another species altogether, as adults, it makes no sense. It just wreaks havoc on the body. So yeah, it's a step. It feels like it's a really good step to land on, because who doesn't like cheese? You know, like, oh, I could be a vegetarian and have cheese pizza and, you know, cheese omelets and eggs and all that stuff. And eggs, by the way, are a real problem too. One egg has as much cholesterol as an 8-ounce steak. So, you know, most people think, okay, I'm having eggs for the protein. I need the protein. But one egg only has 6 grams of protein, right? 1 cup of lentils has 17 grams of protein. And you're usually having more than 1 cup of lentils in a bowl of soup. You're probably having a couple. So that's your daily dose of protein. Whereas the eggs, you're having so much cholesterol and saturated fat, and you're really not getting that much protein from them.
What are some of your favorite vegan meals and your favorite restaurants, snack foods? There's so many amazing, like, dedicated vegan places. Even I live in the Valley, which is a lot less progressive than the city. It's called something vegan.
Yeah,
it's kind of amazing. You know, I moved here from New York, and I thought New York was okay because there are plenty of vegan restaurants. But you know, New York's enormous. So when I say plenty, there are probably 20 that I knew of, but they were spread out all over the place. And it wasn't quite like LA is vegan conscious. Here, I mean, I feel like I live in ground zero, because I have Pura Vita, which is my favorite Italian restaurant, to the north. I have Crossroad, which I really love, to the east. I have Real Food Daily to the south, and I have Gracias Madre to the west. And I'm right in the middle. So any day I can just, like, look at the compass and go northeast, southwest. And I get better great. What?
You just made me really hungry.
Right.
So good.
That's the dinner hour.
Yeah, exactly. But when you ask, like, my favorite food, if I'm at home, I do love dairy, the creaminess of cheese and yogurt. So I love Kite Hill yogurt, which is made, I believe it's from almonds. They have a Greek yogurt that's really fantastic. It's high in protein. And I'll have some berries and some Kite Hill yogurt for breakfast, a little bit of granola sprinkled on it, and maybe some plant-based milk on top of it. And I always have my coffee with Oatly. I love oat milk. For lunch, I'll usually have something like a lentil soup or a bean soup with a salad, maybe some crusty sourdough bread on the side with olive oil. And for dinner, I love bowls. I really love, I mean, unless I'm out enjoying the food that Gina's talking about, I love, you know, a grain bowl with some grains and some beans and some vegetables and avocado, or tacos, or, you know, all of that good stuff. It's just really, really, every day I'm like, oh my God, there's so much great food. There's just really
one thing people often think, you know, or at least people that don't know, that if you're vegan, you're probably having nothing but, you know, salad and grains. You can have all kinds of great food as a vegan. The cheese issue it's close to being solved. It's not quite there, but there are some amazing vegan cheeses, and I've served them to people, and they don't know that they're vegan. And some of them are just amazing. I happen to be a chocolate freak. I love chocolate. So I have chocolate every day. And if you're getting 70% dark chocolate, that's vegan. And as Kathy points out, there are a lot of companies like Kite Hill that are making yogurts and desserts.
Miyokos and
Miyokos.
Yeah.
In fact, at Erewhon, which is my local upscale, a little too expensive supermarket, they now have this whole wall of just vegan products, and it's really incredible. Again, this is not the vegan that, you know, we knew 15 years ago. Now you can go to a store and come out with, like, everything you ever wanted, and it's all vegan.
But the longest living people in the world, you know, people who are living in so-called blue zones, they eat very simple food. It's plant-based, and it's a lot of whole grains, pasta, vegetables, olive oil, nuts, seeds. You know, that's the food I love. I love going out to eat for something special, but and I'm too frugal to shop at Erewhon. So,
yeah,
it's so close. I can't help it. I
refuse.
It's so close. And
although, you know, they're building one in the valley now. Oh, yeah? I don't know, right? Yeah, so that's dangerous. But no, for the most part, it's so cheap. It's so cheap to eat vegan, you know, and that's one of the reasons in our book is like that you save money. You save money because beans are inexpensive. Grains are inexpensive. Vegetables, I buy a lot of frozen vegetables, throw them into a smoothie, but you know, if you're buying them in season, they're not that expensive. If that's, you know, everything else you're buying is pretty inexpensive. Yes, you could spend money on fancy plant-based burgers, vegan burgers like Impossible or Beyond, which I do because a girl's got to have a burger every once in a while. But for the rest of it is pretty inexpensive, and you save money not only at the time that you're grocery shopping, but you also save money over time because your medical bills are lower. You are healthier. You're not getting as sick. I mean, the studies show that people who are on a whole food plant-based diet actually get far fewer flu viruses, colds. They get much less heart disease, type 2 diabetes. Those are really expensive diseases, high blood pressure. So, and not, you know, you're paying for all the medication, you're paying for the doctor visits, you don't have the same energy, so you're not as productive at work. So you're not earning as well as you could be. So there's all kinds of ways that you save money by going vegan. And we think that's a really valid reason to consider it.
Another thing that both Kathy and I like that we haven't mentioned, there's a farmer's market. It's absolutely fabulous about 2 blocks from where I live. And so every week I buy kale. It's pretty cheap, actually. And I make a smoothie. I know Kathy loves smoothies. I do. I have smoothies 4 or 5 times a week. And it's strawberries from the market and kale from the market. I add some of the yogurt that Kathy just mentioned and maybe some, I think, sometimes other blueberries or other berries. That's an incredibly healthy breakfast, and it costs almost nothing.
Amazing. It's all those phytonutrients, all that, you know, there's so much that you get in fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, seeds that you don't get from meat. All those phytonutrients, the color that goes into berries and kale. You know, leafy greens are the best source to get your iron and your calcium. Most people say, oh crap, where am I going to get my calcium? Where am I going to get my iron? For both of those things, the best source is leafy greens. So
yeah, a lot of people don't know that when they think milk is a great source of calcium, but actually milk is acidic and your body always wants to be in homeostasis. And so it will actually leach calcium from your bones because calcium is base to try to counteract the acid of milk. So there have been a lot of studies that would actually indicate that drinking milk is bad for your bones, not good for your bones. The people who have the highest rate of osteoporosis in the world are the people who are also the biggest milk drinkers.
That's fascinating. And it goes against everything we've learned as Americans over.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. We also have a chapter. One of the reasons is called Fiber is Your Body's Bitch. And fiber is like the superhero in the nutrition world because it keeps you so clean. I mean, fiber is when you're eating fruits and vegetables and grains and beans, you are getting all this fiber. It goes into your stomach, mixes with the liquid in your stomach and forms a gel. That gel pushes out against the edges of your stomach and the stretch receptors tell your brain you're full. So instead of just keeping on eating, the fiber is saying you're full. And then it slows down the absorption. And then so that the insulin release is slower. So you don't have that blood sugar roller coaster. It's just very steady energy throughout the day. And then the fiber pushes through your colon, that long intestinal tract through your colon, cleans everything out. So it keeps you clean from the inside out. So it's just, and there's no fiber in animal foods. There's only fiber in plant foods. So you get none of that from a steak or from eggs or anything. And it's a powerful reason to eat plant-based.
That's great. So that's one of the reasons, but how did you settle on 72 to be the number of reasons? And are there 72 reasons presented intentionally by theme or ranked in any way? This question was from Ray Q on our question and answers from the audience.
We actually, it's organic. I think the original idea was 100 reasons. And we started writing reasons, and then we thought, instead of
it started out 10.
Was it 10? Okay.
Yeah, 10. And then we were just trying to think of a snappy number.
But we realized that actually what we should do is make it organic. So we ended up just writing the reasons we thought were the most important and then counted them. And it turned out there were 72. And 72 is kind of a cool number. In fact, some people mentioned sort of this mystical component to it. And in various places, 72 has themes and reasons we actually didn't know about. But no, so we actually didn't think, okay, there are 72 reasons. We discovered that there were 72 reasons we wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a mystical number in Kabbalah, the 72.
Yeah,
we heard, yeah.
And I do want to say the 73rd reason, which Kathy didn't like and nobody liked except for me. I have a really good friend who's a real techie nerd, and he's a science fiction addict. And so he became vegan because he was convinced that if an alien civilization came to Earth and they saw us eating animals, either they would be so disgusted they would leave and we'd never make contact with the alien civilization, or they would think that gave them permission to eat us. So he didn't want that to happen. So he went vegan.
Thank God we had a good editor who nixed that.
That's a good reason. I thought it's a great
reason. It's like that episode of The Twilight Zone.
Exactly.
How to Serve Humans.
Exactly.
I guess I never was into the sci-fi thing. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that was one of the best episodes ever.
We would have had 73 reasons to be vegan, but we love our
72 is a great number.
Yeah.
So I want to know more about how the relationships in your book that you mentioned have changed. How has being vegan made your relationships with other people better?
Well, I always say,
I love that.
I always say, that people say, what's the best way to make someone go vegan? And my answer is always date them.
That's true. Although I've dated a few meat eaters and nothing happened, but
you didn't work hard enough.
Yeah, but so it changes your relationships on several levels. So number one, it is a great thing for your sex life, because when a man gets an erection, he has an erection because he has good circulation. One of the first things you can tell that a man might have heart problems is if he can't get a good erection. So that is all about circulation. So when you're eating a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, you're vegan, you have great circulation, your erections are good. Same kind of thing goes for women, is your blood flow is very helpful, very healthy, and everything is plump and moving and vibrant down there. So you experience sex in a more pleasurable way, but also just that you feel good about yourself, because when you are vegan, you're healthy vegan, you tend to be at a weight that is good for your body. Whatever your healthy weight is, you kind of get there naturally without trying. You become stronger. Your skin looks better. So you tend to feel more confident, and confidence in a relationship about your body is also really good for a relationship. But also, if both people are on that path and they're curious about being vegan, or they're doing it together, or they're committed already, there's something really bonding about that when two people feel this sense of agency, that I want to be part of the solution. We both want to be doing something that's positive for the environment, that's going to combat or mitigate climate change, that's going to be kinder to animals, it's going to be better for humans all around. So that's a very bonding thing. And someone who I respect someone who is I'm interested in men, and a man who is very masculine, I think, wants to protect the more helpless. And to me, there's no more helpless than animals. And so to me, it's a very attractive thing for a man to take that stand, to want to protect an animal and to really be tender-hearted, you know, to have that fierceness and tenderness all at once. I just think it's a very sexy thing. So there's all kinds of reasons it helps a relationship.
Great. So, I mean, I would put that under your favorite aspects of being vegan. But what are some of your other favorite aspects of being vegan, just in your day-to-day life?
What do you think?
I guess, again, so I like the idea that I could look any animal in the eye and say, I don't eat you, I don't eat your brothers, I don't eat your sisters, I don't eat the species that are close to you. I feel just very clean walking around knowing that I don't ever eat anybody who I might run into. I know that sounds a little weird, but you know, it actually, it's kind of cool to know that you're living in this very clean way, and you're not hurting anybody. We can all use as much kind of internal support as we can possibly give ourselves, and to be able to say, oh, well, that feels really good knowing that I don't hurt anything. And today I haven't hurt any creature, and yesterday I haven't hurt any creature, and tomorrow I'm not going to hurt a creature. I know it feels a little weird, but it really does feel good.
Yeah,
down for that. I love that. And for me, I wake up in the middle of the night terrified of climate change. I'm just, you know, I cannot help myself. I read every terrifying thing about what's happening, and I see it coming down the pike. So for me, my favorite reason to go vegan is because it is good for the environment and it combats climate change. So,
can you talk a little more about that, about the link between animal agriculture and climate change?
Yeah.
I was actually just looking, because I thought this might come up, a study that was in Science, the journal, I just saw it today, and it said that eating a vegan diet could be the single biggest way to reduce your environmental impact on Earth. Researchers at Oxford found that cutting meat and dairy products from your diet could reduce an individual's carbon footprint from food by up to 73%. If everyone stopped eating these foods, they found that global farm use could be reduced by 75%, an area equivalent to the size of US, China, Australia, and the EU combined. So it's just study after study is coming out, just showing this extraordinary link between animal agriculture and the harm we're doing to the environment.
And so just to explain a little bit, like people are like, well, how, why? I don't get that. So methane is 28 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. And so methane comes from cows burping and farting. Like cows, they're ruminants, they eat and they digest in their four stomachs, and they burp and they fart. And you think, oh, what's the big deal? Cows burps and farts, that's going to like create methane, that's going to create climate change. Well, yes, if you think about the billions upon billions of cows, the billions upon billions of animals who are raised, chickens, goats, to go to slaughter every year, that's a lot of methane, and that's a lot of carbon dioxide gas. And plus the amount of oil it takes to transport them, slaughter them, refrigerate them. It's just, it's on so many different levels, but it's a very powerful thing you can do to decide to eat vegan rather than meat.
It always kills me when I run into environmentalists who are really passionate about the environment, eating burgers and chicken wings, and you try to get them to make this connection, and for some reason it's a disconnect. So despite the fact that the UN has been publishing studies probably almost monthly now showing this extraordinary connection, it is hard to get people to understand it.
Well, that's why we wrote the book. It's like instead of trying to explain it all, because again, we're not talking databases of scientific information about protein, about climate change, about sex, about animal behavior, all of these things. It's just here's the book. Read it. I promise you it's going to make a big difference. And that's the promise of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And I want to end on a question. How do you handle people questioning your choice to be vegan today? So like if our viewers decided to go vegan today, of course there would be social backlash. How do you deal with that?
I personally, I completely understand it, because I also fought it. I was like, I don't want it to ruin my life. So I have compassion. I have empathy. I know exactly what someone is feeling and thinking, because it's like, I don't want all my favorite things to be taken away from me. So I approach it with understanding and empathy, and then just, you know, be as kindly informational as I can. And I also don't take things personally. I know that people are defensive for their own reasons. And I know this works for me. And I know a bunch of reasons that it works for me. And if anyone's interested in hearing them, I'm happy to share, but I'm not offended if someone gets defensive, because I get it.
Most of my friends are not vegan. I mean, I do have a lot of vegan friends, but I have many more that aren't vegan. And, you know, it just really doesn't come up much, particularly now since there's so many vegan options. Occasionally, you know, if I'm going to a dinner, somebody will say, well, you know, what can we make for you? And I'll say, look, it's really easy. Just tell me what you're making, and I can tell you if I can eat it or not. If I can't, we'll just figure something out.
I'll bring a dish, so then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. And then you bring them something really delicious, like a vegan lasagna or something. And it's like,
exactly.
Watch everyone say, oh, this isn't so bad. I could eat like this. If I could eat this every day, I'd be vegan. I hear that all the time. It's like, just try the food.
What would you say to someone who, I know that it's a lot easier out here to be vegan, but what would you say to someone like in my family in the middle of Alabama who has never met a vegan? What would you tell people who are trying to break through kind of there, and how to explain it to their very loving and well-meaning families that they're not eating what's on the table?
You mean that you don't want to eat it?
Yes.
I was at, because I'm from Doraville, Georgia, so I hear you, sister. I would just say, please don't worry about having anything for me. I'll bring something. I just don't eat animals, because, you know, it's just something I don't want to do. I don't preach about it or anything like that. And then I bring something really delicious, so that, you know, they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to feel put upon, and and then it becomes kind of a topic of conversation, and people tend to be interested in it anyway. And in small towns, by the way, there are always Chinese restaurants. There tends to be Ethiopian, you know, there's all kinds of, there may not be a vegan restaurant, but there's probably an ethnic restaurant that might be really good and something fun to experiment with, you know.
I would find that for the most part, if I'm dealing with people that aren't vegan, I don't really talk about it much, or if I'm in some small town and, you know, I won't eat what they're eating. But I don't talk to them unless they want to talk about it, because nobody wants to be told, hey, what you're eating, that's really horrible. So for the most part, you just don't bring it up, and you live your life, they live theirs. If they ask questions, you answer them, but you don't preach, and you don't judge.
Agreed.
Wonderful. Any final thoughts?
Again, we're just so happy that bookstores are open again and people are reading again.
And we love you guys. Books is our favorite. We love you guys.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a wrap on our presentation. Thank you so much to our guests and to everyone who tuned in this evening. We greatly support everyone's time and your support of independent bookstores. Support our bookstore and our authors by purchasing a copy of tonight's featured book, which is 72 Reasons to be Vegan, and you can press the green purchase button directly below the viewer screen. If you'd like regular updates on our upcoming events, please make sure to follow us on Crowdcast and subscribe to our newsletter. Have a great evening and stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Bye.